this English lesson, we'll read a BBC News article together so you can expand your vocabulary, learn advanced grammar, and improve your pronunciation. This is an advanced article discussing how cats may hold the clues for human cancer treatment. If you can understand this article, your English is excellent. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Our headline: cats may hold clues for human cancer treatment. Global study. So this dash and then global study, this information is here to add authority. It's here to tell you that this claim isn't just someone's opinion. It is from a study, a global study. So that's why they're including it here. But may is a modal of probability. So they're not, even though this is from a study, they're not saying that cats hold clues, which would be definitive, stated as fact. They're saying may hold clues, which means there's a potential, but there's also a potential that cats do not hold clues. Hold in this sense simply means have, and a clue is a piece of information that helps you solve a puzzle, solve a problem, or understand something. So this is used very commonly in everyday speech. If you're taking a test and you don't know the answer, you might ask the teacher or the examiner for a clue, for a piece of information to help you solve it. Or if you're planning a surprise party or a surprise vacation for a friend or your partner, they may ask you for a clue, and you say, bring a bathing suit. So they have a piece of information to help them understand. But it's not all the information, it's just a piece or more than one piece of information. Or maybe I could say, I have an amazing lesson planned for you, but it's a secret. So I'm not going to give you any information. And then you say, Jennifer, please, can you give us a clue? Because clue is a noun. You see it here, it's in the plural form. So in the singular form, you need an article. Can you give us a clue? So do you want me to give you a clue? If you want a clue, then put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments, and I'll share the clue with you. And this will help you remember this word and how to use it. Don't worry about taking notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's continue with this lesson. The first detailed genetic map of cancer in pet cats reveals striking similarities with human versions of the disease. Okay, here, a genetic map is when doctors or researchers, scientists look at your genes, but they look at it just like a map tells you where you are and the relationship between locations. That's what a genetic map does as well. I'm not a researcher or a doctor. That's just my understanding of what a genetic map is. It tries to help you understand your genes, what they do, and the relationship of them and their location. So the first detailed genetic map of cancer. So the first, notice here, first is an ordinal number, which is why we have the article the. It is not optional, it's required. So you would say, I work on the, and then whatever your ordinal number is. The second, what's this one? The third, the fourth, the 31st floor. If you're in a high-rise building, that's absolutely possible. I work on the ordinal number floor. So this is required, and you use ordinal numbers a lot in your day-to-day life. You can say, the first clue I'll give you is, the second clue, the third clue, the fourth clue, and you can keep giving your friend clues about some surprise you have planned for them. The first detailed genetic map of cancer. So this isn't a genetic map of all your genes. It's related to the ones associated with cancer, but not in humans, in pet cats. Now notice they included pet because they're distinguishing between a pet cat, which you can also call a domestic cat, compared to a stray cat. A stray cat is a cat that lives on the street, is wild, hunts for its food, is not reliant on human beings. Okay, your pets rely on you to give them food, etc. Stray cats, the slang term would be street cats. So you might complain about street cats in your area or street dogs when you went to a certain place on vacation. But the more formal term is stray cats or stray dogs, ones that do not rely on humans, do not have a home. As I was writing this, I thought of another term, which is feral cats or dogs. To me, this sounds a little more formal. It might be something that a veterinarian uses or that animal control uses, but generally in day-to-day speech, native speakers use the word stray cat or dog. So if you see a cat walking down the street, you would say, is that a stray? I probably wouldn't say feral. That sounds a little more formal, but you will hear it in more formal context, more official context. But don't call them wild cats or wild dogs. Well, a wild cat to me sounds like a ocelot or a cougar, tiger, jaguar, large cats that would never live in someone's home as a pet. So that's what I hear when I hear wild cat. Okay, so the first detailed genetic map of cancer in domestic cats, pet cats, reveals. So here we have our verb to reveal, which means to share information. It sounds a little more formal. You also share it for the first time. So when a company reveals a product, they share that product with the audience for the first time. So share for the first time. And notice here, there is an S on it because this is the present simple. And the subject is it because the subject is the first detailed genetic map of cancer in pet cats. So all of this is the subject, which is very long. This happens a lot when we add more information, but really it's the genetic map. All of this gives first detailed of cancer in pet cats. That just gives more information. But the genetic map is the true subject without the additional information. So it's it. It reveals striking similarities. If you describe similarities as striking, it intensifies it. So if you see a picture of me and you see a picture of my mom at the same age, you would say the resemblance is striking, which means there is a high resemblance, which means I look a lot like my mom. The same may be true for you, or maybe it's you and your dad, or you and your grandma, for example. So striking intensifies the similarity. Striking similarities with human versions. So if you look at the genetic map of cancer, two of them, they look very similar, but one is for a cat and one is for a human. You may expect them to be different because obviously cats and humans are very different. Possibly helping find new ways to treat cancer in both. So in both means treat cancer in humans, treat cancer in pets, in pet cats. Specifically, not pets, because pet is generic for any animal, a pet hamster, a pet fish, a pet turtle. So not any pet cats. And to treat, of course, the verb treat here is being used to say to reduce or eliminate the illness or the symptoms caused by that illness. Of course, when you see a word, you have to understand the context. If I just saw this one word, treat, I might think you're offering me
some cake with my coffee, because that would be a treat, which is a noun. But here it's a verb, to treat, and obviously I understand the context.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
Scientists analyzed tumor DNA from almost 500 domestic cats. So remember, before they referred to them as pet cats, and I said an alternative word is domestic. So here you see it, that word being used, but you could also just say pet cats. Almost 500 domestic cats, uncovering key genetic mutations linked to the condition. So a genetic mutation is simply a change from one type of gene to another. Beyond that, I can't give you more information because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a researcher, so I don't have the expertise, but that's my understanding of a mutation. Now, linked to the condition means that this genetic mutation, this change from one gene to another, and then we have cancer. That's the condition. There's a connection. They're associated, which to me sounds like this genetic mutation, if you have it, you're more likely to also have cancer. So that's what it sounds like to me when I hear this, linked to the condition, because there's a connection, association, or they're tied to. Those are other very common ways of saying linked to. And notice this pronunciation here. This ED is being pronounced as a soft T, linked. But then I have this T from to, and to is part of the expression. So when I pronounce them together, I'm not going to hear the T here and the T here. Linked to. So I'll just end on that link to. And when I push it out, I'll say the T for this one. Otherwise, it would be linked to. And I would have to take a pause. Linked to. And I just said that to is part of the expression, which is very important when I say that, because you will understand that to is a preposition. And it's a preposition that's required when you use the expression. Why is that important? Well, grammatically, it's important because if you have a verb that follows a preposition, that verb needs to be in the gerund form, which is an irregular sentence structure in English. Normally, you would use the infinitive. Now, this is a noun, so there's no change. But let's say I wanted to add a verb here, linked to developing the condition. If you develop cancer, it means that cancer exists and may continue to exist, grow, spread within your body. So that would be the first verb I thought of, linked to developing the condition. The condition, again, being cancer. So if you use a verb, which in many cases you would, it needs to be in the ing form because you understand that to is a preposition that belongs to the expression. And the same applies to if you use connected or tied to, because to is the preposition that belongs with them. Associated uses a different preposition. It uses with, but with is still a preposition. So you would use the ing form, associated with developing the condition. Let's keep reading. Cancer is one of the main causes of illness and death in cats. Okay, in cats. Now, they're not saying pet cats or domestic cats here. So at this point, we could assume it's any cat, including feral, stray cats, or we can assume it's domestic cats because that is the subject of the article. However, very little is known about how it develops. What's the it? Cancer. And remember, I said develop was the first verb I thought of, and here you see it. So it's just when you develop an illness, you develop a disease, you develop a condition. So again, it means you get it, but also it sounds like it may grow and spread at the same time, how it develops. So here, this starts with quotation marks. So I know that these words are coming from someone. They're quoted verbatim. Verbatim means that it is the exact words that the person said. Cat cancer genetics has totally been a black box up until now. Okay, let's look at this together. So we have genetics. Interesting that we have a singular verb. Do you know why that is? Genetics is treated as a singular concept in the scientific world. So genetics is, because genetics is the area of study or the field, the topic. You see this also with economics, which I studied in university. But economics has an S. It's not economic, it's economics. Economics is my favorite subject, okay? Subject in school, for example, because it's an area of study, it's a field. So economics is. Now, because for me, this was in the past, I could also say economics was my favorite subject in school, okay? So genetics applies, the same thing applies. So it's the field or area of study. Field area of study. And as you can see, just remember that we have this S on it, but is conjugated as a singular, which is important. So genetics has. Now, in this case, they're narrowing genetics because genetics, that's a general field, but they're saying cat cancer genetics. So it's genetics specific to cats developing cancer. Has totally been a black box. A black box up until now. So you can use up until now. Up is actually optional. So you could just say until now. So this word here, up, is optional. Until now. Both of them are the same. To me, I don't really hear a lot of difference in meaning. So it means that from the time that researchers started studying genetics related to cancer in cats until now, until the present day. That's the time reference here. Now, black box, this sounds like it was an area that wasn't widely explored. It was an area that people didn't know a lot about. So you can think of it just as a mysterious, unknown field or area. And remember, this was said verbatim. So said lead researcher, Dr. Louise van der Weyden. The more we can understand, so again, this is still coming from Dr. Louise's mouth, verbatim, the more we can understand about cancer in any species. So any species, cats are species, humans, dogs, pigs, rabbits, any species, has got to be beneficial for everybody. So this quote is included just to provide validity to why they're spending time studying cancer in cats, because even though it's a different species, it's still beneficial for everybody. The international team led by the Wellcome Sanger Institute in Cambridge examined around 1,000 genes. So I believe this is the second time we saw around. I think there was another one. So around me is the informal way of saying approximately. approximately 1,000 genes. So approximately is the more formal way, but this is a more formal news review in the sense that it is based on a scientific study. However, around is the more everyday of saying it. So you would say, I got home around 8, around 8:30. It doesn't have to be used just on whole numbers. You can say around 8:15, for example. And you can use approximately, but to say I got home at approximately, notice the change here. I got home around 8. I got home approximately 8. You can't say that. If you wanted to use approximately, you would have to say I got home at approximately 8. But with around, you can drop the at. So just to be clear, also, I got home at 8. I got home around 8. No at. I got home at approximately 8. Include at. But this sounds quite formal. I wouldn't use it in just telling a friend or a coworker or a family member when I got home. I would use this one. I would use approximately if I am in a more formal context, perhaps discussing research findings or our quarterly financials. Around 1,000 genes linked to, so this is the same word we saw before. Remember, you can use 3 other options. Do you remember even 1? If you remember even 1, that's okay. You don't need all 3, but do you remember 1? And if you don't, that's okay, because right now your brain is absorbing a lot of information. Our brains are not designed to permanently remember information after you're exposed to it one time. That's why I provide the free lesson PDF, because you truly need to review everything, practice with it, form sentences, write them, say them out loud. You have to use it to feel confident. So if you can't remember even one of the alternatives, that's okay. If you can remember all 3, that's awesome, but you still have to practice. So linked to, that's our model. Connected to, tied to, associated with. Those were the 3 alternatives. Okay, so just remember that. Linked to 13 types of feline cancer. Feline is another word for cat. So cancer in cats, feline cancer. Feline is the word that refers to the whole species. So in this case, when you say feline cancer, it's not just pet cats, because feline is the word for the species of cats in general, all cats, not just domesticated house cats or pets. And just as a fun little pop quiz, do you know the word for the species of dog? Feline is for cat. What is it for dog? Do you know? I'm not going to tell you. Put it in the comments. A little quiz for you. Okay, let's keep going. They found many of the genes driving cat cancers are mirrored in humans. So here, instead of saying cat cancers, you could say feline cancers or cancers in felines, cancers in cats. And notice cancers here, it's in the plural just because there are different types of cancer. So breast cancer, liver cancer, whatever other, brain cancer. So all of those, you could say cancers. But the individual one, you would just say brain cancer. Unless there are different types, then you could technically say brain cancers if there are unique individual types. So it is possible singular or plural. It just means one complete unique type of cancer. Are mirrored in humans. Well, right now, if you're mirroring me and you're mirroring my movements, you would be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. So have you heard this interesting piece of information that when people are in conversations, they naturally mirror each other? Have you heard that? If you study body language. So if I go like this, if we are having a good conversation and we have more of a rapport, a connection, you will also naturally go like this. And if I move back in my chair, you will more naturally move back in your chair, because people generally mirror each other when they're in conversations, okay? So copy is the everyday word. So it's saying that the same genes in cats are the same genes in humans. And hopefully you've noticed that the pronunciation of this word is the exact same as the clothing type, a pair of jeans that you wear. Now, the word jeans is always plural because, well, you know that with pants, right? Because there are two legs. So we use the plural form for it, jeans. So if you want to specify one, you have to say a or one. A means one in this context. A new pair of. So pair is the marker, the singular plural marker. One new pair of jeans. Now, if it were two, what would you do? I bought two new pairs of jeans. So this word pair is what can be singular or plural because jeans is always plural. But that doesn't apply to this word. I just thought of it, and it's an important grammar point for the word genes, but the pronunciation is exactly the same here. They found many of the genes driving cat cancers. So driving means influencing or causing. It has nothing to do with a car. So influencing or causing. Cat cancers are mirrored in humans, are also found in humans. Let's keep going. Okay, so this is a comma. We're not done. So they're saying suggesting. So this information suggests. Suggesting the two species, cats, humans, share key biological processes that allow tumors to grow and spread. The scientists say, so here we have the scientists. What's the difference between just scientists and the scientists? It's a very important distinction. If you just say scientists say, it means the general category of scientists. So it sounds like all scientists. Just like if you say cats are cute. This means all cats. I'm not distinguishing between only black cats or only tabby cats or only a specific breed, Siamese cats. It's just in general, all cats are cute. So if you just say scientists, it means all scientists. But it's not all scientists, is it? It's the scientists, specific scientists. So you could say, for example, the cats I saw at the shelter were cute. Okay. So I saw, this is yesterday. That's why I'm saying were cute, because it was yesterday. I can simplify this and say the cats at the shelter are cute, just to keep the reference a little more similar. So the cats at the shelter. So now it's not all cats, is specific cats. So if I say the cats are cute, even without more information, you know that I'm talking about specific cats. Now, if you just see the cats are cute and you don't have any other information, you might be a little confused and you might say, Jennifer, which cats are you talking about? And then I would say, oh, the cats at the shelter. The cats at the shelter are cute, because the means there's some sort of specific one. So here it's the scientists who led the research study. Say the household cat could hold the key to understanding certain types of breast cancer. So hold the key to understanding. So if they hold the key, it means, well, hopefully you can understand metaphorically what that would mean. It means they have the ability to help you understand. Just like if you hold the key for a door and you're the only one, then you have the ability to go into that room. So cats could be the reason why we understand certain types of breast cancer, such as triple negative breast cancer. Around 15 out of 100 breast cancers are of this type. Okay, so remember I said before that you could say brain cancer, but then I corrected myself because I thought, well, surely there's probably more than one type. So you could say brain cancers if you're referring to a unique type. So brain cancers, more than one. Here they're doing the same thing, breast cancers, because there are more than one type. And here, one type they give us is triple negative. And again, they're using around, which means approximately. Cats develop this subtype. So here we have cats without an article. So now we're not talking about specific cats. We're just talking about cats in general. Cats develop this subtype. So the subtype being triple negative. This is the subtype. Okay. Now, why are they using sub? So cancer. That's the category. Then we have type. Type is breast, brain, lung. That's the type. The subtype is then you take breast and then you have triple negative. That's one subtype. I can't name another subtype, to be honest. So you would have a certain name. So that is subtype. It goes, so we start larger and then we get smaller, and more specific. That's subtype. Cats develop this subtype more often than humans, giving scientists access to samples. Because if they develop it more, it means that there are more samples available. But then they already said that the genes in cats and humans are the same because they're mirrored. So we know we can take a sample of cancer from a cat and still learn from it because it's mirrored in humans. It's found in humans. It's copied in humans. So cats develop this subtype more often than humans, giving scientists access to samples and offering clues. Oh, now you know what this means. Pieces of information, but not just random pieces of information that help you understand something or solve a problem. Offering clues to new treatments. But while cancer studies have been carried out extensively in dogs, so if a study is carried out, it's the phrasal verb form of performed. So you can perform a study. You can conduct a study. So conduct a study, that would be the most direct synonym of the phrasal verb carry out. Extensively in dogs. Cats have remained unexplored. Remember, we know this because they use that term black box. So cancer in cats had been a black box, meaning an area that was unexplored, an area that there was not a lot of information on. It was mysterious. So they're just repeating that same piece here. Cats have remained unexplored. The scientists, again, the ones who led this study, the ones who conducted this study, the ones who carried out this study, there are always multiple ways of saying the same thing. Sometimes it's really just a synonym and there's no difference. Sometimes there's a level of formality that changes, and sometimes there's a slight change, but not enough to drastically change the meaning. The scientists say both household pets, so now they're talking about cats and dogs because they just referenced dogs. Do you remember or did you figure out the word for dogs that represents the species of? Remember we talked about for cats, it's feline. Do you want a clue? A clue is they rhyme, okay? They rhyme. Feline, da-da, okay, they rhyme. So hopefully that helps. That's my clue. The scientists say both household pets, the scientists say both dogs and cats could give clues to environmental factors involved. An environmental factor, this would be things we're exposed to in our day-to-day. The water we drink, the air we breathe, the perfume in our home, the food we eat, all of those are environmental factors involved in some types of cancer, as they share the same space as us. So they being the dogs and cats. So if you give your dog water from the sink, and then you also drink that water or you cook with that water, well, then you share that same environmental factor. You and your dog or your cat are exposed to the same water. So that's important when they are trying to understand the causes or treatments for cancer. And that's the end of the article. So what I'll do now is I'll read the article from start to finish, and you can focus on my pronunciation. Cats may hold clues for human cancer treatment, global study. The first detailed genetic map of cancer in pet cats reveals striking similarities with human versions of the disease, possibly helping find new ways to treat cancers in both. Scientists analyzed tumor DNA from almost 500 domestic cats, uncovering key genetic mutations linked to the condition. Cancer is one of the main causes of illness and death in cats. However, very little is known about how it develops. Cat cancer genetics has totally been a black box up until now, said lead researcher Dr. Louise van der Weyden. The more we can understand about cancer in any species has got to be beneficial for everybody. The international team led by the Wellcome Sanger Institute in Cambridge examined around 1,000 genes linked to 13 types of feline cancer. They found many of the genes driving cat cancers are mirrored in humans, suggesting the two species share key biological processes that allow tumors to grow and spread. The scientists say the household cat could hold the key to understanding certain types of breast cancer, such as triple-negative breast cancer. Around 15 out of 100 breast cancers are of this type. Cats develop this subtype more often than humans, giving scientists access to samples and offering clues to new treatments. But while cancer studies have been carried out extensively in dogs, cats have remained unexplored. The scientists say both household pets could give clues to environmental factors involved in some types of cancer, as they share the same space as us.
Amazing job with this lesson. Do you want to keep learning English with the news? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. Here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.